Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. You know, if you've ever just stopped for a second to marvel at the human body, you realize pretty quickly that it isn't just a random collection of parts. It is this brilliant macroscopic network of perfectly integrated systems, and they're all working in real time all the time. Today, we're going to explore exactly how that incredible machinery operates, and we're focusing specifically on how the body processes the raw fuel that keeps literally every single cell alive.
Okay, let's dive into this. How exactly does a sandwich power our heartbeat? I mean, it's a simple question, right? But the answer requires us to take a really fascinating journey through multiple layers of human anatomy and physiology. We eat food, and somehow, that mundane physical matter turns into the vital kinetic energy required for our heart muscle to contract, for our lungs to expand, and for our brain to process information. Establishing this direct link between eating a meal and the energy required for your organs to function, well, that's exactly what today's explainer is all about.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the big picture, look at location, check out the processing plant, learn about extracting the fuel, and wrap it all up with systemic teamwork.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the big picture: anatomy, physiology, and homeostasis.
Before we can start tracking our food, we need to establish the ground rules for how scientists actually study the human body. The entire foundation of medical science basically rests on two pillars. Anatomy is all about structure and location, while physiology deals with function and action, the chemistry and physics of how those structures actually work. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the origin of the word anatomy. It comes from a Greek root that literally means to cut apart, which makes total sense when you think about how early physicians had to learn by observing external wounds before eventually moving to actual dissection. But the golden rule you gotta remember here is that you cannot truly understand the function without understanding the structure. The specific shape of an organ completely dictates what it can do.
So, what is the ultimate goal of all those structures and functions? Well, it all boils down to this one crucial concept right here: homeostasis. Homeostasis is basically a steady state of internal balance that your body works constantly, and I mean constantly, to maintain. Whether it's keeping your internal temperature at roughly 98.6 degrees, maintaining a steady pulse, or balancing out your blood sugar and energy levels, every single process we are discussing today is dedicated to keeping your body in this incredibly delicate living balance.
To achieve this massive task of maintaining homeostasis, the human body relies on exactly 11 distinct organ systems. We're talking about things like the nervous, skeletal, respiratory, and cardiovascular systems. They act a lot like individual departments in a huge factory, but a failure in one immediately triggers an alarm in all the others. They are constantly collaborating just to keep the whole biological factory running smoothly.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds. Location. Mapping the body cavities.
You know, the body isn't just a solid block of tissue. It is actually divided into these fluid-filled spaces called cavities. These cavities house, suspend, and protect our delicate internal organs. And here's why this matters. These spaces allow your organs to change in size and shape without completely disrupting the tissues around them. Think about it. Your stomach needs physical space to expand after a really big meal, and your lungs need room to inflate with every single breath, and they have to do all of that without crushing each other or distorting the nearby organs.
So our bodies are divided into two primary compartments. The dorsal cavity runs down your back, housing the ultimate control centers, the brain and the spinal cord. But let's look at the front side, the ventral cavity. This gets subdivided into the thoracic cavity for your heart and lungs and the massive abdominal pelvic cavity. This lower space right here is the primary location for our digestive journey today because it houses the stomach, liver, and intestines.
Inside that abdominal cavity, things are constantly moving around. To keep those organs from literally rubbing each other raw, we have the peritoneum. It's a double serous membrane, kind of like a fluid-filled biological shrink wrap that completely surrounds the organs. Its entire job is to add protection, suspend the organs in place, and secrete fluid to reduce friction. It's what ensures smooth, totally painless organ function during the heavy physical movement of digestion.
Which brings us to Section 3, the processing plant: anatomy of the digestive system.
We're going to zoom right into the specific department responsible for breaking down our food. This system is essentially an active, dynamic assembly line. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a disassembly line. The gastrointestinal tract is this long, continuous tube consisting of the mouth, tongue, and teeth, leading down the esophagus, dropping into the stomach, winding through the small intestine, and finally the large intestine. Alongside this main tube, we have vital accessory organs: the liver, the pancreas, and the gallbladder. Think of them as chemical support stations pouring in specialized fluids to aid the whole processing operation.
So, the crucial point is understanding how this physiological journey happens chronologically. Step 1, the mouth mechanically chews food into smaller pieces. This material is then pushed down the esophagus via peristalsis, which is this rhythmic expansion and contraction of muscles. In step 2, the stomach vigorously mixes this food with gastric acids, turning it into a semi-liquid called chyme. Step 3 is where the real magic happens. The small intestine absorbs the core nutrients and water. Finally, in step 4, the large intestine dries whatever is left over into waste to be expelled.
Moving along to section 4, extracting the fuel, breakdown and absorption.
Now we're zooming all the way down to the microscopic level to find the exact chemical treasures this whole system is hunting for. Because your body can't use a whole sandwich, right? It needs raw molecular fuel. The gastric acids from the stomach, along with bile created by the liver and stored in the gallbladder, aggressively break down that complex food into tiny, non-toxic nutritional molecules. Proteins are disassembled into individual amino acids. Fats are emulsified, which is broken down a lot like how dish soap breaks apart grease in a frying pan. Essential vitamins, ionic minerals, and water are completely isolated and prepped for use.
All of this intense mechanical and chemical digestion has one primary goal: making molecules tiny enough to cross over from the digestive tract and into the bloodstream. The small intestine is the ultimate handover point. Its microscopic architecture is perfectly designed to maximize surface area. In fact, if you stretched it all out, it would cover an entire tennis court. This ensures all those extracted amino acids, sugars, and vitamins can actually be absorbed. This is exactly where digestion finishes its specific job and hands the baton off to the rest of the body.
And finally, section 5, systemic teamwork, fueling the whole organism.
This is where we zoom back out and see this beautiful systemic integration at play. The digestive system's incredibly hard work is honestly completely useless without a delivery mechanism. Once the intestines extract those core nutrients, they dump them directly into the blood. The cardiovascular system then completely takes over, acting as your body's global distribution network. It pumps those specific digestive fuels, the amino acids and sugars, through miles of blood vessels to power every single one of your other 11 organ systems. Your brain, your muscles, your bones, they all survive purely because of this perfect biological handoff.
I absolutely love this quote from our sources. All organ systems collaborate to maintain homeostasis and ensure the body's proper functioning. They communicate with and support each other. It's just a fantastic reminder that no organ system works in isolation. They aren't just neighboring parts occupying space. They are a perfectly synchronized team working relentlessly around the clock to keep you alive and balanced.
And this brilliantly illustrates the magic of our biology. Right now, at this exact moment you're listening to this, millions of cells in your body are collaborating, turning whatever you ate for lunch into the kinetic energy required to process your very next thought. The 11 organ systems are running in absolute harmony. The only question left is, what are you going to fuel them with next? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you walk away today with a newfound appreciation for the engine of life inside of you.